Who am I and who are you? The ultimate questions for who we are as whole beings experiencing on this earth in this human journey. And to find the answers to these questions, we are going to be sitting down and exploring the minds for the wisdom and knowledge of the layers that make up our beings. From the mind, to the emotions, to the body, and to the astral with the light body. We will be exploring these different multidimensional aspects of who we are as the I Am presence in this world on earth, in the human experience. We'll get to have fun, cracking smiles, and diving deep into the knowledge with different psychics, intuitives, shamans, coaches, teachers, practitioners, and many more different beautiful conscious souls of the everyday life to gather the information we need in order to unravel these layers and become more aware and present in ourself as the whole I Am presence that we are. And I'm very grateful for this and really look forward to the journey. So thank you all for tapping in and being a part of this. And I am your host, Marcus, aka Crystalite, and I will be on this journey with you from the beginning to the end as we travel through the process of clearing layers.
Why are there not more people talking about conjunctions in astrology? These cosmic meetings could be the missing piece in your birth chart. Let's uncover what they mean. In astrology, a conjunction happens when two planets meet in the same spot in the sky, amplifying their energy and influence in your life. Think of it as the universe turning up the volume on certain themes and emotions. Want to know how conjunctions could be shaping your destiny? Stick around to find out.
As above, so below. The process of clearing layers. Season 2, Episode 4. Astrology Conjunctions. With our sacred guest, Alexandria Hunter, out of Arizona. Join us as we explore astrology and conjunctions, and how conjunctions can impact our everyday living, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, as we travel through the process of clearing layers. Tap in and tune in this Sunday, 7/13, 8 p.m. Eastern, Sacred Light Broadcast Network on YouTube, and Facebook Live, Crystal Light Robbins. Reach out with questions. Please like, share, and subscribe to help support and spread this knowledge and information for self-empowerment Ashe.
And it's in between Pisces and Aries. It's like we're in between we're in between the old world and the new world, because Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, so it's all about release, surrender, ending of karmic contracts, ending of cycles, spirituality, our intuition. And then Aries is a gigantic cosmic reset. So not only are we in the first official new moon of the new zodiac year, which is a much different energy than the calendar year. And it's interesting how Western society has January 1st as a new year when it's in Capricorn, and Capricorn is a very like regimented energy. And Capricorn in tarot is the devil, so it rules materialism, and it's the third earth sign in the zodiac. So I don't know, how much do you know about astrology? Do you study it, or are you more like maybe read your chart once or twice?
I don't really know how to describe how much I know it, but I'm well aware of how it works. I'm well aware of what the planets mean. I mean, I'm pretty equipped. Could always learn more, of course.
Yes, of course. No, that's awesome. I asked because a lot of people, when I start talking about Aries and Pisces and this house, they're like, what are you talking about? Slow down.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because I feel like I never really know where a lot of other people are at. I know like you're on a spiritual, if you're a spiritual seeker like I am, you probably do have quite the knowledge. So you have a basic understanding of the zodiac types and probably the house systems and what your sun and moon and rising and all that means.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I pretty much know like what the planets mean. You know, what it means when their energies are together, what it means when like certain moon phases are happening, all that good stuff. What I don't really know is like the house stuff, the transit stuff specifically, and also just like the more in-depth stuff, like, you know, the north node and south node, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm always open to learning more, and I love what I have learned so far, and it's been very empowering what I've learned, and it's helped me not only understand my makeup as a human being,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also helped me really understand how I can be more present and find harmony with nature and creation by understanding and studying what is. Because it is what is. And what I mean by that is it's not really a only dualistic thing. As in, astrology is a very whole thing. And there is divine blueprinting that's embedded within astrology. Because astrology is nothing more. And of course, this is my own explanation. Everybody else out there that's going to hear this, you know, it's completely up to you if it resonates. But, you know, for me, astrology, just like many other things, whether it's tarot, crystals, anything else, it's really archetypes that represent different energies of the one consciousness. And for me, that's how I see things, is I see things as archetypes of the one consciousness explaining itself through those archetypes. And we're also archetypes too, as human beings. No separation, but everything in creation is an archetype with a divine message and blueprint.
That just gave me chills. I love that. I agree 100%. It's interesting that you say that because each of the zodiac archetypes has a certain phrase. So the phrase for Aries is I am, which makes me think of what you just said. It's like, I am whatever I say I am, but Aries is the first, it's the start of the zodiac wheel, and as you said, there really is no start. It's, you know, one ending leads to another beginning, and one beginning might lead to another ending. So it's like all one and the same. It's just different ways of experiencing the energy, but Aries is I am. So it's the first recognition of consciousness. That's what Aries and the Aries archetype represents. And then we move into Taurus, which is I have. Gemini is I think, because it's with the zodiac, there's always progressions, right? So there's 4 seasons, there's 4 elements, there's air, fire, water, earth, and we weave in and out of the elements, which are masculine and feminine energies, which I think is very interesting for, especially if you have learned a lot about polarities and stuff, which I'm sure you have, especially the masculine and feminine polarities. I think we all have both polarities within us. So I think I've always thought it's so interesting about the time that we live in with a lot of what we're seeing in the collective with the like gender movement, and people identifying more with their feminine nature or their masculine, or not identifying with the gender at all. I can totally see that in astrology and how that plays out in astrology. I think that's even more interesting that we're literally moving into the age of Aquarius, which is the higher mind. So the higher mind does not see gender, it sees vibration, it sees energy. And not to say that, there's a lot of conversations out there, so we can, avoid.
Now, this brings up a great thing that I would actually like to touch on real quick. And this is from a observation standpoint and a universal standpoint as well. And, there's contrast, there's polarities of how things are experienced in this world. And with the way that, the energies come into the earth, and the energies come in as whole, and it's just whole. And then the whole collective of the earth feels those energies together. Now, how that energy is translated, how it's experienced and expressed, is going to be unique to your aura and your human blueprint. And with that being said, what I've been observing, especially during these times, and knowing the time that we're in a larger scale, not in a presidential or government scale, but like astrological and universal scale. And of course, you can study everything and see that's all connected. But, these energies come through, and then depending upon where our being is at, whether we have traumas, distortions, attachments, or we're actually feeling free, unconditional, and in love, and other things, then we're going to face different experiences depending upon where we're at vibrationally. And what I've noticed is it's almost like you have a dual-edged sword of what you were talking about, where it's, we're now ascending as a collective and a planet to where we are now becoming the I am. When I say the I am, I mean the I am as in a spiritual being that is not bound to the identity of their human self. And with that comes what you see now. And you see the folks that are kind of already there and kind of close to being there are kind of just expanding, creating, actually feeling a lot of joy and upliftment right now. But what we see is, the contrast of that, where we kind of see the false pretext, kind of like what people are saying is like the wokeism type of stuff, where it's almost like it's wanting to be that, but there's underlying attachments, and there's like identity crises, and there's strong judgment and like pushing of the ideology onto others, trying to get kids to become the ideology. Like, that isn't, to me, embodying that you are just the one creator equal to everybody and everybody's the creator. For me, using that and like taking the identification ideologies and judging others, slinging mud on them if they don't fully align with it or anything else. You can see right now, from a neutral standpoint, it's being very challenged by the universe right now. And for me, what I see is either people are going to be holding so tightly to their physical world attachments that who knows what's going to happen, or they're going to end up letting go of it and coming to the clarity of their divine connection with source. And that is that we all are these divine beings, and we don't need to have the world or the outside of us determine that for us.
Get your tickets now for a rare, one-of-a-kind, multidimensional Lionsgate 8/8 retreat coming up in Sedona, Arizona at Camp Avalon, hosted by Marcus Crystallite of Sacred Light from 8/6 to 8/9. Experience the powerful Lionsgate 8/8 portal, amplified by Sedona's legendary vortex energy. This retreat is your chance to align mind, body, and spirit during a time of deep awakening and transformation. Join Crystallite for chakra balancing, Sarah for herbalism, Yuga for qigong, Aliyah for ecstatic dance, and Cher for orgonite technology, plus more healing flow shops with expert guides. Enjoy hiking Sedona's stunning landscapes, nourishing plant-based meals, and camping under the stars with a conscious community. Step into a safe, sacred space to connect, heal, and discover your multidimensional self. Embrace self-empowerment, vulnerability, and community as you shed old layers and awaken to your highest potential. Tickets: $188 for 1 day, $333 for 2 days, or $444 for all 3 days. Payment plans available. Register now with the link in the description or text Marcus at 513-238-5580 to reserve your spot.
Absolutely. I love all that so much. And it's so interesting too, how astrology is, I just see it as something so important. It's such the second I discovered astrology, it was like, wow, this really makes sense of the world. And there's a lot of symbolism even in the Bible about our star systems. And Neptune in Aries is about that, exactly about what you were just talking about. So not only do we have this time period that we're living in, I don't know if people really understand the significance of the next 3 years. I mean, we've been through a lot, especially since 2020. There is some big aspects going along, and this is interesting. I like to ask people, like, what were you doing on December 21st, 2020? Because that was a significant day. That was a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction where we were kind of at the same, it was the planet of expansion, which is Jupiter, and higher knowledge and belief systems was butting heads with Saturn, the planet of limitation and karma. So it's so interesting because I've also heard a lot of spiritual teachers talk about the shift in consciousness as in, shifting to the 5D Earth. And a lot of times I've been like, well, what does that mean? And a lot of people seem to wonder, what does that mean? But the way it's been explained to me and the way I've seen it in my mind is that the descending path of consciousness and the ascending path of consciousness are one and the same. It's what our souls signed up for. Some of us choose, because we have a balance of light and dark on the planet, like yin and yang. So you're especially going to see, if we haven't already, we've had a preview of the Neptune and Aries energy, because Neptune's been in Pisces for so long, and Neptune dissolves things. It dissolves boundaries, illusions, and Neptune is a planet of spirituality. So Neptune in Aries is literally spiritual warfare. So I think we're going to see a lot of themes of spirituality over the coming years. And then, like you were saying about judgment, a lot of people have judgment and they don't really realize that they are the creator. And I think if more people realize that I am the creator, then it honestly could solve a lot of the problems on the world, because there really is, at least the way I've come to see it, of course, like in our human world, there's things that are wrong, like, murder or, the R word, or just, abuse and things like that, violence. But from a spiritual perspective, the way I've experienced life up until this point is that it all has to do with our personal karma. Since we are the creator, everything that we put out into the universe, I feel, is going to come back around to us at some point or another. And astrology is just like one lifetime. Your natal chart is just the specific moment, the imprint of the stars that chooses. It's a blueprint of your destiny, and it almost acts like a clock. And I think it's so interesting that the clock that we use on Earth has 12 hours, like the 12 houses. It looks just like a zodiac wheel, right? And it's interesting, 12 is at the top, then we go one all the way around.
Yeah.
And the house is the I am, your identity.
12 dimensions as well. 12 dimensions in this universe we're in.
Exactly. Like, I think 12 is a really significant number. And I was just watching a video the other day. They were talking about how 13 is a very significant number too. And I'm like, that's very interesting, because I think not too long ago, there's a 13th planet discovered, but I study astrology based on the 12 houses that I know. So I'm not super familiar with the 13th. Are you? Do you know anything about the number 13 or?
I'm familiar with the number 13. I know it's like a karmic number, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's just like, it's a really like powerhouse number when it comes to just like purpose and potential energy. And like, anything that has karmic attachment to it, it also means that it has an opportunity for strong impact as well. Because if something is dealing with karmic energy, then that karmic energy is going to end up turning into empowerment. So not only that, but also clearing. So clearing of whatever grid or field that karmic energy is involved in. So that's what I've gotten from 13. I know it's been associated in a negative polarity with some people because of the karmic word, but in the whole standpoint, karmic energy is just, it's like energy that's kind of residual from a cause. And then it creates density, so lighter in vibration.
Absolutely. And I was just gonna, to continue the conversation about karma, what I've also come to realize is like, you can experience karma in this lifetime, and I'm sure we experience it if you believe in reincarnation, which I do, because I've read a lot of books that really resonated with me, like Many Lives and Many Masters and Journey of Souls, which really opened my mind up to that. It expanded upon what my intuition already sensed. But astrology continues to fill in those gaps in that picture for us, because it's like our soul is very intentional about this time-space reality that we're in. And to get on the topic of transits, your natal chart, a lot of people, when they think of astrology, I think, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I would imagine a lot of people are not super familiar with the transits and why they matter, more so honestly than your natal chart, because your natal chart is just a snapshot of your genetic blueprint, what you came to Earth as and equipped with. But throughout your life, the planets are either moving forward or they're moving backwards, some of them all at different rates. So we have generational energies, which are the outer planets. So it's like Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus. And then we have inner planets like the sun or the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, which have shorter transits. So when you're looking at your transits that you're experiencing currently, you are looking at where those planets, you're using your natal chart as the blueprint, and then you're seeing how so if your blueprint stays, your natal chart, your blueprint stays still, the transits are rotating around those planets. So you're seeing how are they interacting with your natal Mars? How are they interacting with your natal sun? Are they crossing over a node? That's going to be a significant period of life. Are they crossing over your part of fortune, which is another huge spot in astrology? Saturn return years. Everyone will go through one between the ages of 27 and 30. Then we have the generational energies that will stay in the ending, or sorry, I got distracted because you disappeared from the screen, so I wasn't sure if you're still there or not.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I might have lost you. But yeah, the outer planets are generational energy. So a group of souls will incarnate at the same time. So me, for example, I'm born in 87. So people born around me will have the same generational energy. So it's interesting because I think maybe the boomers, so people who are probably in their 40s and up right now, and of course, you know, there's 50s and 60s and 70s, blah, blah, but just to show you something near me. So like the boomers probably in their 40s for the most part, they're Pluto and Libra. So they were transforming what relationships and contracts were like marriage. And that's interesting because we're seeing a lot of our younger generation, a lot of marriages, they don't last as long as they did in generations before us. And I'm part of the the Pluto and Scorpio generation. So Pluto and Scorpio generation is diving into intimacy and personal power and the underworld. So our shadow side. So a lot of people are in relationships that feel karmic in nature because it's bringing out everything in light that we need to see, but it's perfect timing because we're preparing for the process of ascension on this planet and ascension of consciousness, because we decided to come to Earth during this new cosmic reset. And I mentioned earlier how 2025, 2026, 2027 are huge points because the outer planets only shift signs, you know, every 10 years, every 12 years, every 30 years for Saturn. So we're going to have, I think, the shift of, it's Neptune, Pluto, which we had recently, and then I think it's Uranus. I think so. But it's a lot of big planets at once. So we've chosen to literally come on Earth when there's this shift in a generation. And I don't know, I believe that a lot of us are literally from other dimensions, and I feel like I see it in readings, especially with like the gender stuff. I noticed that a lot of men that I read for, biological men that I read for, are very feminine. They've got more feminine planets. And then I noticed that a lot of biological women that I read for have a lot of masculine planets. And I think that's very interesting because I feel like another big thing in the collective conscious right now, I think you actually had a post about it the other day, is like kind of like the narcissist and the covert narcissist, or narcissist and empath relationships. And I see a lot of our relationships within society, like for the most part, of course, there's people who are shifting the paradigm and they're experiencing healthy relationships, and our consciousness as human beings is awakening. We're learning how to relate to each other in a healthier way. But there's a lot of relationships where we see this dynamic where the men, or society has honestly made women or feminine energies a lot more masculine, because there's a lot of women out there who are working a lot of jobs and then they're providing for their families and they have to wear a bunch of hats. And then there's a lot of men I've noticed in relationships that don't really go after who or what they want. Like it's a weird thing. I don't know if this is just me or other people realize this too, but I see a lot of women are the aggressors in relationships, and they're the pursuers, and they're more in their masculine energy, trying to, you know, get somebody's attention. And of course there's, you know, a lot of personal stuff that's going on, like wounding and karma and stuff like that. But I noticed a lot of masculine energies, like when people are in those unhealthy dynamics, it tends to be because the woman or the feminine energy within the relationship is, you know, it's her wounded feminine or masculine. She's chasing the relationship, which is the masculine energy, what the masculine energy wants to do. The masculine energy wants to take action, while the feminine energy is here to learn how to receive. And it's just interesting because I was approached by a past life lady back in 2017. She told me I was a man in most of my lives, and now I have my soul blueprint is mostly masculine planets. So I think it's very interesting that I'm a woman, and you know, stuff like that. And she told me one of my lessons was to receive. And I think that's interesting because my North Node is in Aries, and Aries is all about putting self first. And your South Node, when you have a North Node in Aries, is Libra, which can be very codependent, very relationship oriented. So South Node people are more comfortable letting somebody else shine or letting somebody else take the reins or make decisions for them. So it's all connected. It's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing all that. It's really smooth and really informal. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, with all that being said, wow. So, I know you had sent me a couple of images, and I'd love to go ahead and pull those up onto the screen.
Absolutely.
If you would like to kind of run through them a little bit.
Yeah, I'll show people, and if people want to follow along.
You want to start?
Yes, so that is the zodiac.
Do you want to
wheel.
start with the chart or with the symbols? Do you want to start with the wheel or the symbols?
Let's start with the wheel. There's no way to put them side by side, is there? If not, I mean, if it's easy enough to switch back and forth. Well, I guess, you know what, it doesn't really matter, but maybe the wheel would be good to start with. And if people were interested in following along with their own transits, I can also briefly go over how you can track it in your own chart. If you are well-versed in astrology and you know what this stuff means and you're a self-starter, or, you like to learn things on your own. The benefit of working with a teacher, of course, is that most of them probably have 20, decades and decades of experience, because astrology is so deep. I've been studying it for about 20 years now, and I'm still learning new stuff every day. And it wasn't even until recently that I discovered the transits within the last handful of years. And they've really been life-changing for me. I always knew we had them, but I didn't know how to track them in my own chart. I always relied on other websites to do that. But now that I know how to do it by the degree points, I can show other people how to do it too. So if anyone were interested in following along with their own natal chart, all you would have to do right now is grab your natal chart. You can get a free one from cafeastrology.com, but you do need an exact birth time, because it sucks if people don't have an exact birth time, because you really can't get into the transits without that. But if you don't, you could probably go to a good psychic, somebody who has that intuitive connection or downloads, and probably see a psychic that might be able to answer that for you and find a time, and then you could kind of base your transits on that and see if it resonates. Because some people will know a general time, like, I was born around midnight, but it can be, you could have a completely different chart and completely different life experiences if you're 5 minutes off. So that's why it's important to have your accurate birth time, and also accurate location. I was going to say there's something called locational astrology, aka astrocartography, which is a whole different conversation, but just to give people an idea of how much you can learn about yourself and your life from astrology, we also have lines on different areas of the globe, which is what astrocartography is. So there's different spaces that we live in, different points on the earth that are in alignment with certain energies. So if you grow up in your Neptune zone, again, completely different experience than if you grow up in your Jupiter zone or your Mars zone. But yeah, that's sorry to get off track. I just thought of that. It's a different topic, but
Soul Awakening Tribe, Part 3 of the Soul Awakening podcast, Embracing the Universal Laws, will be on July 15th. That's a Tuesday, and it's the one that you've been waiting for. Yes, that's right, the Law of Attraction, Manifestation Magic 101. We will be deep diving into how to align our energy, our thoughts, and our feelings with what we truly desire. Did you ever want to know why your manifestations might not be working? Or how to unlock a powerful energetic shift? Or the real secret to attracting your dream life? And hint, it's not just positive vibes. So tune in, because this episode, yes, it will be juicy, it will be real, and it will be transformational. So watch it on my YouTube link in my bio and drop a comment if you're really ready to attract like you've never done before. You're not just manifesting, you're embodying the universal law of manifestation. Let's awaken it together.
All right, so if people wanted to follow along, I'm looking at the zodiac wheel right now, and this is where the planets are currently for today. So if you were to go to cafeastrology.com, or you were to meet with an astrologer who does transit readings, like I do, we would print out your astrology chart and look at your natal chart and the zodiac wheel, because your zodiac wheel is the starting point, as I mentioned earlier, and it sets your destiny in motion. So your zodiac wheel is essentially, have you ever phrased time as a flat circle? They
I think maybe once.
It's actually in the show True Detective on HBO season 1, Matthew McConaughey's character says that, and I always loved that phrase, because to me what it meant was our destiny is, set in stone, but we have free will for how we experience the themes of our destiny. Meaning your soul, based on the timing of your birth and the planets you chose to incarnate, even down to the degree points that you chose to incarnate. A 0 degrees Aries is going to be way different incarnation than a 29 degrees of Aries, because if you are coming into Earth as a 0 degrees Aries, you are brand new. You're a baby in the Aries energy. You're experiencing the very first polarities of that. You're going to be the most Aries. But if you come to Earth incarnated as a 29th degree Aries, then you're here to embody and teach others the Aries energy. So you're more meant to teach others that energy rather than learn. Because in astrology, there's important degree points, which we are at right now collectively. So if you're looking at this chart, you can go to the Aries symbol, which is on the left. It's the red one with the horns, if people don't know. And you can see that we've got 28, Saturn is at 28 degrees. Neptune is at 29 degrees of Pisces. We've got is that Mars at 0, or Mercury, sorry, at 0 degrees, and then the moon is at 9 degrees, or sorry, sun is at 9 degrees, and the moon is at 18 degrees. So you see they all have their degree points listed. So the ones that are, why this period is so significant right now is because the outer planets are, well, Neptune is at an anaretic degree point, which is the last degree point of a sign before it transits into the other sign and shifts. But so it often brings up a point of crisis or some kind of ending, some kind of revelation, some kind of closing out of a cycle. And Neptune is the planet of illusion, deception. The negative traits of Neptune are that people can get lost in addiction under its influence. The positive traits of Neptune are that we have the ability to transcend in consciousness and to have incredible spiritual experiences in our human bodies. So all of that being said, you're looking at this chart, seeing how all of these planets are grouped together in one area. So if they're all spread out, of course, there's, you got a couple planets in other house systems, but for the most part, we've got what is known as a stellium. So a stellium in astrology is when you have multiple planets in one area. So there's 4-planet stellium in Aries, a 4-planet stellium in Pisces. So that means that it's going to look different for everyone. We're all going to experience those themes, but based on your current chart, if you lay your birth chart, or you're following along with your own natal chart that you've printed out for free on cafeastrology.com, or you're meeting with an astrologer who does transits, then the astrologer, when they're looking at the transits, they're going to look at and see, oh, Neptune is in 29 degrees of Neptune right now. So then I'm going to go to chart and I'm going to look, where is Neptune in 29 degrees of your chart? So for me, maybe it's my 3rd house. For you, maybe it's your 5th house of self-expression. If it's in my 3rd house, that means it's a good time to go on a podcast or write a book or communicate to the public in some way or join a community group in my neighborhood. So that's why transits are important, because like you said earlier, we're like antennas almost, like the human body, like, and we literally receive light codes from the sun. Human design talks about it. It talks about the neutrinos that are being emitted by the sun and stars. And these, for people that don't know what neutrinos are, they're subatomic particles that travel almost as fast as the speed of light. And we, through our human skin, are absorbing like 3 trillion per second or something like that. But they're information particles that contain information that is gained from other astrological bodies and bodies they move through. So if you really think of that, and neutrinos kind of like bouncing around, they're passing through planetary bodies. And I mean, you hear scientists talk about how most of the world is made up of dark matter. So most of it is like not even, most everything in life exists as a potential until the wave particle collapses because it has an observer. Again, a whole different conversation, but my point in that is that neutrinos are passing through every one of us. So we're all receptive to these energies, and we're kind of like, that's why when you're talking about how we experience collective theme at the same time, we do, through those shared particles of information as they're passing through astrological bodies, and how we're literally sharing that with each other, and it literally changes our DNA. So if anyone wants to look at neutrinos more in depth on their own, human design is a great place to start with that. And the people who, I think the people who are first discovering neutrinos maybe won a Nobel Peace Prize in 2015 for it, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I remember reading that a while ago, which was what sold me on the idea of neutrinos and human design, and this idea that we're like computers almost, like we receive light particles and then we project those, and then we all experience them in a different way based on our own unique cosmic blueprint. So what else to cover? So let's see. Collectively, I was saying earlier how today is a big day, because today at some point, I'm not sure if it's already shifted, but you can see, if you recognize the Neptune symbol on the astrological wheel we're looking at, you can see that Neptune is at 29 degrees and 59 seconds. So that's literally just about to shift into Aries. And when it does shift into Aries, we're gonna feel it. I mean, I don't know about you, I can definitely feel more Aries energy, because I'm feeling more like, wow, I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to take action on things that I've been sitting on forever. I'm ready to fight for justice and fight for what's right. Whether that's in my personal life or, for underprivileged people or underserved members of the community. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that. We're already seeing a lot of it in politics and on the world stage. We're seeing a lot of separation and a lot of contrast. But the benefit of contrast is that contrast allows us to be the creator. It allows us to say, I don't like this. I want to create something new. I do like this. Let's have more of that. So what is happening, like, we're coming to Earth at this time where there's more contrast than there ever has been. And it's all coming up because we're at the 29 degree point. So it's like our collective consciousness, like if reincarnation is true, which I believe it is, like we've all lived thousands and millions and billions of lives, probably. I mean, there's also the theory of multiple dimensions and multiple universes. I mean, and people like Bashar talk about how we shift dimensions every couple seconds without realizing it, almost like our lives are like a movie stills in a movie.
Wow.
But,
good stuff.
I was gonna say, I wasn't sure if you wanted to chime in. Just let me know at any point if you have anything to add to that.
I don't think to that specifically, but I do have some other questions that I could definitely ask.
Yeah.
And I think to also be good to get you back on the screen.
Perfect. Where are we?
There we go. So then people aren't looking at a black screen the rest of the time.
Yeah.
So this has been a wonderful conversation and really nice deep dive into the, the functioning and the mechanics behind astrology and transits and the charts and how they function. So now what I'd like to navigate into is really what the main premises of this series is, the process of clearing layers, which is now diving into the micro level details. We kind of talked about the macro, the whole thing, the chart, the signs. And what I'd like for us to now move into is the micro level of what type of benefits have either you or others that you know and experience, what kind of benefits holistically have you noticed for your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health? And you can start with whichever flow, however you would like, but I'd love to really touch in on those aspects of our holistic health and what it could potentially look like for everybody out there that's going to be tuning in and their healing process by utilizing this modality or this wonderful thing of nature that we call astrology.
I love that. So I feel like my life journey is a great example of how I tried a lot of things to help me with my mental health for years, and nothing really worked, sadly, until I came across astrology. And what that looked like for me is that I grew up around my Neptune line. So that's the 12th house, and the negative energies of Neptune are that we can be prone to addictions and illusions and often struggle with our own identity and our sense of self, because with Neptune energy, there's no boundaries. You end up, you're a person that I don't know what's mine and what is yours. So oftentimes you take on the pain of others or the suffering of others and you think it's yours. So since I was living near my Neptune line, and a lot of my I found this out years later. So I'm kind of gonna, I guess, jump back and forth between what I know about my chart, but what I didn't know at the time when I was living it. What I know about my chart now is that growing up, I was in a progressed Sun Scorpio phase. So if you know anything about the archetype of Scorpio, or how long, or anything about progressed planets, the Sun will stay in a sign for 30 years on your progressed chart. So since I was born on the last day of Libra, the first about 30 or 27 years of my life were filled with lessons about power struggles, identity crisis, addiction, substance abuse, codependency, and struggles with my own identity, because and those were all the negative traits I struggled with. The positive traits of my adolescence were that through those struggles, I became a great artist. I was able to take the darkness I experienced and write a song about it, and write a song that I could share with other people that they could relate to, or that they could say, wow, I feel seen. And another thing that happened during another pivotal point in my chart, which I didn't know about at the time, was during my Saturn return year. Everybody will have a Saturn return year between the ages of 27 and 30. And Saturn return is when the planet Saturn comes back around to the same place that it was when you were born. And what it's doing is saying, hey, knock, knock, you there? Because we notice you've been dabbling around with this stuff, and really your soul signed up to be over here teaching about this. So if you're not here where you're supposed to be by this time, there's a hurricane, let's just like smash everything. So what that can look like is, it can look like a physical death. It can look like I don't know why I started with that, but but it can look like the birth of a baby. It can look like a marriage. It can look like a divorce. It can look like getting sober. It can look like moving out of state. It can look like moving jobs, switching up careers. Like a lot of people will have a huge shift at that point. So that's one way that that can make sense of what we're going through. Because I feel like as humans, when we experience pain, primarily, we're like, if you're anything like me, it's like, I'm going to be in this pain forever. I don't know what's going on because I'm going to doctors and they're like, here's a pill. And I'm like, I feel numb. It doesn't make sense of why I'm like this. So, and then when a doctor is telling you, I'm not hating on medicine, so I don't want to send that medicine out, or I don't want to send the message out that I don't think medicine works or that it doesn't help people. But in my personal experience, as somebody who struggled with codependency, with addiction, with self-identity, with self-esteem, I was sent to doctors and therapists' office at a young age, around 15, when your pineal gland is opening for the first time. So that is like the third eye area. It's when you're starting to awaken and crystallize your consciousness into this physical plane. It's when you, it's a pivotal moment in your development. And it's also a pivotal moment in your Saturn cycle, because Saturn cycles every 7.5 years will be at a square or like a difficult aspect to your chart. So it's interesting, to look at astrology in those terms, because on a practical level or micro level, we can see patterns in our lives. So not only will astrology help us understand these more difficult times in our life, like your Saturn return year, your nodal return, points in your chart where Saturn is making a square to your sun, for example, which can be difficult. It's also, it helps us understand the energies and what we're learning. But what I was going to say about, at a young age when your pineal gland is opened, for my personal experience, I was going to doctors and therapists, and they were saying, okay, well, you just have anxiety, you just have depression. And I'm like 15 at the time. So it's interesting to me, in my mind, I was like, well, I'm depressed. That's a feeling. That's not, yet I'm being told it's like a disorder. And then I struggled with my spirituality and my connection to source energy, because I was like, why did you make me like this? Why did you make me with a broken brain? Because doctors would just keep putting labels on me and giving me medicine like a lab rat. And once
can we pause for a moment?
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment and to acknowledge any soul that has gone through this right now, and just know that you're heard and seen in this moment. And like, the more clear you become within yourself, you're kind of more distanced from those energies when it comes to your attachment to them. And the less attached you are, you really see things for what they are. And wow, the way that we are, checked on by our health professionals. It's like, wow.
Mm-hmm.
For real. Like, we're talking what's supposed to be the highest level of medical care, quote unquote. And we have been in a world where we experience emotions as a human being of frequency and dimensions. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're designed, literally. That is one of the biggest gifts and purposes of living a human life, is being able to feel emotions. Oh, I'm starting to get like emotional about it. And we've been in a world where our highest level health professionals basically tell us that our emotions that we're feeling, which are natural, and stuff that we just process and also passes through us temporarily are disorders, are problems. They need to be shut down, that we need to coat ourselves. We need to numb ourselves. We need to try to repress it and suppress it. And I'm just going to leave it there.
You're absolutely right. And it's so crazy because what that is doing by suppressing our emotions like that, they get stuck inside of us and they cause disease. And that's what was happening for me. All the years that I was told by doctors that I had this disorder or something was wrong with me, not only did it just continue to dig in at my self-esteem, it made me feel different from other people. It made me feel like angry with God or the universe. Like, why did you make this so hard for me? Why do I have to be depressed? And then I felt guilt for being depressed because I come from a nice family. I wasn't beaten as a child. Why should I be depressed? You know, I got blonde hair. Look, I shouldn't be depressed. You know, like, because a lot of people say that, you know, people will start judging you for feeling depressed if you don't come from hard enough backgrounds. But my thing is, like, we all have pain. It doesn't matter if it's a big T or a little t. We know what sadness feels like. We know what anger feels like. We know what resentment feels like. We know what guilt feels like. There's literally a vibrational scale that aligns with different frequencies. And like you were saying, we experience different dimensions of reality through our emotions that we're vibrating at. So if you're constantly, like, you have to wonder why are health professionals wanting to tell you that you're depressed, and they name it as a condition, so we stay there, rather than being able to say, I'm depressed because I don't like my job. I don't have a creative outlet. I'm depressed because I'm stuck in a building 8 hours a day and I'm supposed to be out in the sunlight putting my hands in the dirt. I'm depressed because I'm surrounded by these people and there's cliques of people that are not getting along and I don't understand it. I think a lot of starseeds and people from, you know, if there is such a thing as starseeds that come from other planets or dimensions, I think there's a lot of, you know, waves of souls born right now, especially the younger generations that are coming in like, what is this place? I don't get it. And then if you're a sensitive being, they're like, you're depressed, take a pill. There's side effects to it, by the way. And then it's literally like a chemical lobotomy for some people. And at least it was for me. It stifled my creativity. It took away my sense of humor and it made me feel like something's wrong with me. So
let's just call it for what it is. It's sick care. It's sick care. It keeps us sick. It does not heal. And I don't really care if anybody agrees or disagrees with me that watches this, because we can go over the facts. We can go over the science. We can go over how many of our family members have been on pharmaceuticals their whole life and have made no progress, but have gotten worse.
Yes, exactly. I felt that way for so long. And it wasn't until in 2010, I discovered the site cafeastrology.com. I think my first experience with astrology before that was like, I learned that there's I used to read whatismybirthday.com, which is if you're born on October 22nd, it would tell you, oh, this is the traits of somebody born on the 22nd of October. This is the traits of somebody born on April 4th, like whatever. But when I did my specific natal chart with my birth time, it was the first time I ever felt seen, and it was a website on the internet, and it was the first time I ever felt any connection to God or source, because I was like, the stars are all around us. They're literally the heavens, and it's telling me things that I didn't even know how to express within myself. And it empowered me, because I realized I have Neptune in my first house, which is your identity. So a lot of people with Neptune in their first house, if you don't know how to work with that energy, if you don't know you're psychic, of course you're going to be seeking drugs and alcohol. You're going to be seeking a connection to something, a spiritual experience. So that's what I lived with for so long. I had, suicide thoughts, and I just felt like the world didn't understand me until I discovered my astrology chart, and I was like, wow, now I can work with this energy. I'm psychic. I've always been interested in tarot, like the thought that I might be able to astral project or astral travel or like do remote viewing where I could like see what somebody else is doing just by tapping into the quantum field. Like that stuff that's better than any drug. when I first started meditating and learned, like, I could not meditate for crap. I couldn't quiet my mind at all. And a lot of people can't. And meditation is the one thing that will change your life and help you get quiet and help you receive those more intuitive downloads from the higher frequencies, from your spirit guides, from your angels, from your higher consciousness. So that's what happened to me, and that's how I was able to tap into my psychic gifts and my ability to do readings for people and my ability to have vivid dreams and experience other realms besides this one, and to see colors when I meditate, to hear things in my head. It's just crazy, our capabilities as a human that people don't even know that you can do. It's just wild.
Yeah, not even just that, but like a lot of us are experiencing it in our everyday life, but we just are not aware of what it is. And if we go around certain people, they tell us that, we're crazy, or that couldn't be such a thing, like stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing that and being vulnerable about your journey.
Of course. And just to use my own chart as another example of and how astrology can be helpful for people, you can, like I mentioned earlier about degree points, and then I think you mentioned something about the nodes, the north node and the south node. The north node is another really important point in your chart because it represents your destiny. So I can look at somebody's astrology chart and I can say, okay, your sun is in Virgo. You're here to experience themes with the body, with your health, with your daily routine, with structures. You're probably going to be more analytical. But at some point, your sun is going to shift into Libra. So then you're going to start exploring themes of relationships, maybe not codependency, Venus themes like harmony and balance and beauty. And then if you live long enough, 30 years later, you're going to experience the Scorpio themes. And you're going to experience another big shift in your life where you explore themes of power struggles and the shamanic initiation. I always say that if people have strong Scorpio transits or Pisces transits, a lot of Cancer, a lot of water energy, their transits, they're like initiation periods, if you use them correctly. Now, sadly, I feel we've lost a lot of souls before their time because of how we treat depression and our mental health in this country.
Oh, yeah.
In this world. So we're losing brilliant people that don't know they're psychic, they don't know they're brilliant, they don't know how to tap into their gifts because they're not taught. So we lose a lot of people to suicide and substance abuse, and it's heartbreaking.
Absolutely. And with that being said, this would be a good moment just to kind of like let everybody know out there that you guys can reach out to either one of us. And we are people that have devoted ourselves to service of all on this planet. And we have, between both of us, multiple handfuls of modalities, practices, and ways that you can consciously and holistically empower yourself and really, really dive into the layers, go to the root behind what's causing your patterns, what's causing your dysfunction, and come to a deeper awareness of it so that you can be more consciously empowered moving forward and realize what was the patterns or what was the causes that got to this for this to happen. And that's one thing we're not really taught in this world either is, everything has a cause to how it got how it is. We keep getting given this indoctrination system of basically having gaps between everything and seeing everything as separate. Night and day, they're separate. Black and white, it's separate. Left and right, it's separate. Up and down, it's separate. Like all this separate stuff. And what that does is it puts fractures and like holes in our psyche, in our consciousness. Spiritual warfare, guys. It's been going on multiple planets, not just this one. This is old news. But spiritual warfare is deep. And if we don't have the clarity of wholeness inside of our psyche, or, the connection of being connected, then it's going to be so difficult not only to have healthy living, but it's also going to be difficult not to be subject to manipulation, propaganda, and distortions, because you're going to have bits and pieces of your power and truth and who you are and what's going on in the world, which then leaves you very vulnerable to then taking in misinformation and manipulation from others. So it's pretty key, guys, to really dial in on the information that we are programming in our psyche. And for sure. So with all this being said, with astrology and transits and how amazing and beneficial it can be, there is something I'd like to bring up and see your perspective of, because this is the same thing with anything in the outer world from our inner world. And that is, we can abuse it, we can become addicted to it, and we can also give our power away to it. So I'd like to hear your perspective of that and what to kind of look for and how to make sure you're having proper conscious connection and boundaries around it.
Around astrology?
Yeah, just not getting too attached to it like it's everything for you.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's right. There are definitely some people who kind of see it it's kind of like tarot in a way, because our attachment to astrology or tarot or whatever thing is based on our personal level of connection to source and the source within ourselves. So if I understand that I am what I think about, I am the creator of my life, I am source energy, I'm my higher self and I'm my lower self, and I am you and you are me, and as above and so below, or if I said that right. But understanding that the drops of water in the ocean are the ocean itself, right? So when it comes to things like astrology, understanding that yes, these tools are here to guide us, but at the end of the day, they're just guiding us, which means they're showing us what is available to us now, and they're helping us make sense of things. And there's always going to be a higher vibrational energy to something and a lower vibrational energy to something, but we have free will. We get to choose. So you can see, for example, oh, Mars was in Cancer and retrograde in my 8th house. Oh, that might mean there's an assassination attempt, or, an earthquake or a tsunami, which are all expressions of Mars in Cancer. Or I can say, okay, Mars is in Cancer, so that means that my energy levels are going to wax and wane this month. They're going to be in touch with the moon. So I can allow myself to go with the flow and ride the wave of it. And I can say, okay, if I'm feeling off today, maybe it's not a good day to try to podcast or try to write a book or whatever it is, because rest is just as important as action is. So I don't like to be, even though I'm a fanatic about astrology and human design and all these things that have helped me so much, I'm not fanatic to the point where I don't have an open mind about other things. I think everything is valuable in this world. I think everybody has a bit of the puzzle to share with each other. And I think we get in trouble as humans when we think we know everything. And I think that's a big part of your spiritual evolution. You see a lot of even spiritual teachers who have spiritual narcissism, where they're like, nope, it's just this way. And I'm higher, elevated than you are. You know what I mean? Like, they really have this sense of a power. They're attached to the ego of being the spiritual teacher and like the one. And I went through it too. When I first started to become psychic, I was like, huh. But then I started realizing everybody's psychic. It's just a matter of if you're using it or not.
I've found more of God than you.
Yes.
Wait a minute. God's everything.
Mm-hmm.
Step into a sacred space of nature, wisdom, and community at the Ascended Masters Nature Retreat, August 15th to 17th. That's the power of connecting with Ascended Masters in a supportive community. If you're seeking that kind of profound spiritual experience, join us for the Ascended Masters Nature Retreat this August 15th through 17th in the beautiful Zaleski State Forest near Hocking Hills, Ohio. This 3-day camping retreat, hosted by Marcus, Crystallite of Sacred Light, offers a unique opportunity to connect with the energies of Ascended Masters, including Saint Germain, Kuan Yin, Yeshua, El Morya, and more. Participate in flow shops focused on mind-body-emotion alignment, crystal healing, and working with different rays or flames of light. Enjoy the nature center, beach and lake activities, and hiking trails during your free time. All plant-based meals are provided. Tickets: 1 day for $55, 2 days for $99, or all 3 days for $122. Register now with the link in the description or visit Sacred Light Retreats. Spaces are limited. Questions? Text Marcus Crystallite at 513-238-5580.
So that's why I like to treat people as equals. I don't care if you're an expert in something. I don't care if you're a novice. Like, we're a human here on earth having an experience like I am. So let's share our experiences and try to help each other out.
Preach, girl, preach. Golly, that's how I am too, man. That's how it is. And people will feel that too. Like, I embody that presence. Like, you know, I've met people that are just like, blah 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 this or blah 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 that, or professional at this, professional at that, all these certifications, and then we cross paths, and here I am bestowing wisdom upon them, and not even intentionally wanting to or anything like that. And not only that, but like, I've gone into different fields, gone into different facilitations, and I'll step in there with people that have been doing a certain practice for odd amount of years, and then I've just like self-taught, just like intuitively learned it myself, and they're asking me questions and inspired by me. So it's just like, you know, title, professional, all that stuff, it's nothing more than a label, guys. And don't get me wrong, there's different techniques, there's different fundamentals that you can learn about whatever it is that you're studying, which is great and wonderful things to utilize. But just keep in mind, it's not the end all be all. There's no one book that tells you how to use energy. There's not one way of how you can heal. There's infinite ways. And when we can really let go of the finiteness of trying to make things finite and defined, then we can just be present in the moment and realize that all we need is just our own self in the present moment to connect with our inner source energy, and then intentionally and consciously use that and continue to do that and build momentum. And that's really all you truly need. But of course, we're where we are vibrationally and with the densities that we have. So we have these tools here in this lower realm so that we can have assistance with clearing these densities and clearing these layers so that we can just be and become more of that light that we already are. It's almost like just wiping the mirror off, you know, getting rid of that smudge. Not that you're not already a infinite light being. It's just there's a lot of layers that are covering that up, and we just got to get rid of those layers.
Absolutely.
Activate us a little bit as well.
What was that?
I was gonna say, and activate us as well.
Yes.
Clear those layers and activate.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have said it better myself. I was thinking of something too when you were talking. Speaking about source energy, I was gonna say, I always tell people, if you're gonna become an expert in anything, become an expert in yourself. Become in control of your emotions and ask yourself, why do I have this emotion? What story do I have that's attached to this emotion? Thoughts precede things. Thoughts create emotions, and emotions can create thoughts. So that's why meditation is so important, because then you become detached from your thoughts and you realize there is a soul inside of me observing my thoughts. I am a vessel for these thoughts that come in. Everybody is psychic to some extent, whether that is they feel things with their, solar plexus, or they're feeling it through their splenic energy, or they're really tapped into what's going on mentally. I'm so sorry, my dog's. Hey, come here. Or they're tapped into, you know, they're clairvoyant, they're clairaudience. So we all have special gifts.
Nice.
But we are all like the radio, you know, like the dial of a TV. It's like, what station do I want to listen to? And that's why hey, Woods, come here. We have to be conscious about everything we're watching, everything we're listening to, the music, the television, especially because there are agendas on this planet that don't want people to wake up to their power. So they intentionally use frequencies that are disruptive to the auric field and our mental health.
Yeah.
Because sound frequencies have also really, really helped me too. And I don't even listen to music anymore. And that's coming as somebody who creates music, but I don't really listen to music because I'm just like forever fascinated with learning as much as I can. Because, you know, we're here to grow and evolve and learn, and there's always new stuff to learn, there's always new perspectives to share and more people to learn from. And it's just, as humans, we're so attached to these labels, like, oh, they're not an expert, so I can't trust that. What do you know? You didn't go to school for it, or whatever. But like you said, everybody has that capability to connect to source energy, and it's literally free. You go sit out in the sun, even if you don't have a sun. I mean, hopefully you don't live in a place where there's no sun, because I mean, honestly, sun is life. I moved out to Arizona in 2022, and I love Ohio, but I needed the sun out here. Like, I needed air in my lungs. Like, it really does a lot for my mental health. And I think we're all solar beings. But that, you know, was another thing that helps with my mental health, is to be in the sun. But meditation is so important. That's how people can begin to wake up and reclaim their power and their sovereignty and be free from manipulation when they understand, like, cause I feel like every human has it within their programming, like seeking for guidance somewhere. I'm seeking something outside of myself, because we remember where we came from. We understand inherently or intuitively, like, we are the higher self. But in, you know, religions and churches and schools and whatever, societal programming tells us that God is a man in the chair in the sky waiting for you and judging you. So people feel disconnected from that. And, you know, that's why it's so important to seek your own knowledge and to listen through meditation.
Yes, absolutely. Well said. So there's another question I wanted to touch on real quick, and that is kind of similar to my last one, but this is kind of like, you know, giving advice, giving a little bit of insight into, or for those that could either just be beginning, or they could kind of find themselves going through this pattern where they may find themselves kind of getting into fear, or they may find themselves feeling like maybe they're not doing enough, or that they might not fulfill something because, you know, they may read their astrology, but then they don't do the things that they read. How do you kind of, like, you know, best advise someone to kind of have boundaries, or just really shift their self if they find themselves in a place where they're like in turmoil or fear because they're so attached to the astrology and they think it's really going to define everything about them if they don't fulfill something?
Well, I would just like to remind people that not only are we spiritual beings, but we're physical beings too. So it really is, and we're vessels and we're antennas. So it's important to understand that, like, to look out for what we're putting in our body, not just what we're filling our minds with, but what are we putting in our bodies? Because if you're addicted to things like I was, like alcohol, nicotine, vaping, smoking, junk food, chemicals, lotions, sprays, perfume, parabens, face products, like all the things, like a bombardment of chemicals in your body, that is going to limit your consciousness on some level, because your body's trying to detox from these foreign substances. So it doesn't, if you're in that space where you have not learned how to listen to your body intuitively and ask yourself what you need, and I'm speaking from a person of experience who used to treat my body like a trash disposal, trash can, because I was drinking on weekends with friends and stuff, and I thought it was normal, and then I would eat junk food at every meal, and then I felt out of control with my eating habits, and then I would smoke nicotine, and my body was addicted and dependent on that. And then if there's like psych meds on top of it, then that has different reactions in your brain. So it's kind of keeping you stuck in a certain frequency. So that is why people get attached to these things, where it's like, oh, but this hasn't happened, because what we're putting in our bodies isn't allowing us to break through to these higher frequencies. So one of the best ways to do that is meditation. And I swear people fight me on this all the time. meditation, because if you're not in control of your thoughts, you're not in control of the stories you tell, and you over-identify with your thoughts. And if you're over-identifying with your thoughts, you're going to be looking for anything and everything outside of you to tell you who you are, to reflect back to you who and what you are. But who you are is the creator. You're a reflection of God and source energy. So you, just as much as I do, have the ability to tap into something higher than yourself, but you have to understand that you're more than this body. You're more than this physical experience. But that doesn't mean that the physical things don't matter, because they do. So it's like the balance between recognizing that we're spiritual beings and we have to have that connection, and the balance between materialism. And that's a big war right now, because it's going to be Neptune and Aries, our spirituality versus the physical. Like, what are we experiencing on Earth? What are we putting in our bodies? And right now there's chemicals galore. There's chemtrails. There's stuff in our water that's not at the right levels. There's, jabs, whatever you think about that,
Hey, the grateful thing is it's being addressed on a large scale now.
It's about time. And I think that will help a lot of people. I think if we can kind of like start lower, start with the root chakra. The root chakra is our survival and what we have to survive. The other thing is that a lot of people are not living in their purpose. So like they've got jobs just to pay the bills, and they're feeling burnout, they're feeling bitter, they're feeling upset with that. And then they're probably, might be drinking on the weekends or like vaping every couple minutes. So it's like not only are you not doing what you love, so there's not your experience to like bring the Kundalini energy up, because it sits at the bottom of our spine and it starts to rise, right? And it's different experience for different people. But for me, I think it started around my root chakra slowly over time. While some people have spontaneous Kundalini awakenings, but it's a whole different podcast. But the Kundalini energy, for those of you who are familiar with it, it's this energy that sits at the base of the spine and can travel up through the chakras. So it's going to clear up everything that you've got stuck in your field. So those emotions, that trauma that you had as a child. But if you can't progress or ascend beyond your lowest level of consciousness, which might be the root chakra for a lot of people, because they're stuck in fear, they're living in survival, they're feeling guilt and shame most of the time. I could tell you until I'm blue in the face, what to do or like what to feel. But until you take the liberty to understand for yourself, like, okay, I recognize that there's more to this. And you start meditating, because that's what awakened it for me too, is meditating. So that helps with that Kundalini energy activation. So once you progress past that first stage of, I'm in survival mode, I'm just eating because I'm emotional and I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm just kind of like trying to make money to survive, but there's not really a lot of joy in my life. So those are like when we're attracted to like relationships that aren't spiritually fulfilling. We're, the karmic relationships or abusive relationships, and we're at jobs we hate, and things like addiction. But once we raise our consciousness even just a tiny bit through meditation or giving up one thing, that's what I did. I started with one thing, and that first thing was alcohol, and then the year after that it was cigarettes, the year after that it was junk food, the year after that it was vaping. So don't judge yourself at where you're at with your journey, and don't try to reinvent the wheel overnight and try to do everything all at once. Recognize that, and again, that's why I like astrology, because it's like, this is what you're learning this period. Right now, it's about healing your codependency. In 3 years, we'll focus on your spiritual beliefs that are hiding in your subconscious. 2 years from now, we'll focus on your finances. So like astrology transit readings and progressions can show us timelines. So that's why I think it gives people peace of mind, or it should, when they understand that. But you also have to I would encourage people to meditate, even if you can't. You're not like, meditation is the single most important thing you can do to quiet your mind and, again, to connect with source energy. And most people, if not all, but probably the majority of people that start meditating are going to have a hard time sitting still. I mean, I couldn't quiet my mind for crap, so I had to learn how to do positive affirmations, and I had to do the mala bead technique, where you say one affirmation for every bead, and you say, I am worthy of love. I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of love, even if you don't believe it. But that's how you train yourself. That's how you train yourself to think differently, to align with those higher vibrational thoughts, which is going to give you access. It's unlocking your codes of DNA. It's moving the energy up, and it's allowing you to connect to higher vibrational timelines and ideas. And it's allowing you to stretch your imagination in order to attract the more positive experiences that everybody's capable of. But if you believe you're not, and if you think that, oh, I hate happy people because it's a bunch of bullcrap because I've never experienced it, well, what are you doing to hold yourself back from it? Are you afraid of meditation? Are you afraid to give up alcohol? And why? It's about asking ourselves why. And also, it's about shifting, stepping outside of our comfort zone and doing what we don't want to do sometimes, which is what it was like for me. I don't really want to meditate, but I'm sad. And it's one of those things where pain becomes a gift. You get tired of your own bullcrap after a while. At least I did. And the pain was the ultimate catalyst. So you can choose. Rock bottom is when you decide to stop digging. So we can choose when we're done with the pain. And I don't know if people are like this too, but I realized I was living Groundhog's Day for decades until I finally was like, I'm the problem. Because if I'm not the problem, I'm not the solution. Okay, I'll finally try something different. And I tried meditating, and it changed my life.
Beautiful testimony.
Thank you.
Meditation's changed my life as well. Big time. I used to be someone that, number one, was getting high almost every day of the week. Whether it was weed, alcohol, psychedelics, ecstasy, Molly, coke, ketamine, you name it. Besides the big three, as I call it, heroin, crack, and meth.
Yeah.
Other than that, party drugs, festival drugs, cocaine, I was doing it. And not only that, but I was selling it. And I got big into selling. I became like one of the biggest in Warren County, basically. And selling at festivals, chilling with Grateful Dead heads, all that stuff. And it's not anything to glorify. It's definitely something that was lived and fulfilled during that time, and was lived to the most, that's for sure. But my point is that we are very much capable of overcoming those kind of periods of our life through these modalities that we're speaking on. And for me, just to share a little bit, is meditation and learning about chakras and chakra health and breath work and the power of the breath, and then learning about the mind and learning about power of the mind through people like Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, many others. It started really giving me a bigger picture of who I was and what I was in. And through that, I started practicing meditation on my own through a good brother of mine. And he was a Reiki master and shamanic healer and all these different things. And he started teaching me, like, every day we'd hang out. And what I had started to notice was the more that I started practicing meditation on my own, and I started practicing these other things as well, I started noticing that I was naturally letting go of attachments to the outside world, including substances. And then as time went on, I started learning about the aura and how our electromagnetic field works and how chords work and how our focus works and what happens when we focus our energy and the chords it creates. So as I learned all these things, it just became very 1 + 1 = 2. It became very simple. And that's one thing about life, is that when you start to align yourself with what they say, like God, the organic blueprint, whatever you would like to say, you realize that there's a master mapping that we can balance ourselves with to then not have to give in to temptations or impulsive natures of the outside world. And what meditation and chakra balancing did for me was it helped rebalance my electromagnetic field and the way that conscious energy was able to flow through me, because that's what the chakras do for us. For those of you that don't know what the chakras are, you guys can check it out on my YouTube channel, Sacred Light Healing and Wellness, Light Body Awareness 101. Go under playlist. And I do a full in-depth whiteboard teaching about the chakras. And, these chakras are the gateway or the blueprint system for your mental, emotional, and spiritual health in your physical life and in your physical avatar. So when those chakras are blocked up, then those chakras aren't able to give you those dimensions of divine light that are meant for you to experience. And then this is when we get imbalanced, and then we start having dis-ease and disorder and all these different things depending upon which chakra. And then the chakras connect you to different octaves or different dimensions of life. And chakras move like wheels, so they rotate. Some move counter, some move clockwise. And it's divinely, perfectly made for the human being in order for the human being to exist in the first place. So if you're someone that thinks, oh, it's just taboo or whatever, every single human being has a chakra system, because that chakra system is the blueprint and the gateway for your human being to even have life and to experience life. So the more that we just accept that we have them and learn about them and come into a healthy relationship with them, then we open up a whole new box of opportunities of empowerment and ways of manifesting, attracting, and feeling divine connection within ourselves. Not outside of ourselves, but within ourselves. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that, about chakras and how meditation's helped me, because I was someone that was always getting high, always chasing money, always thinking that life couldn't get any better than this. I'm getting high all the time, I'm making money, chilling with my homies, whatever. And now I'm here. So there's a lot to learn. There's a lot for me to share from going to there, or from there to here, where we are now. And it's the same with Alex, and the same with everybody else. And it's also the same to you out there that's listening to this right now. You have a story. You have a journey as well that is divine and also has value, not just for yourself, but for others as well. So don't be afraid to step up, because I'm telling you, this is the time, and we're being called to step up and step forward and to be vulnerable. And not just vulnerable, but lean into connection and unification.
I love that. I was gonna say I couldn't be a better way to wrap up our conversation. Honestly, I feel like what you said was just like the perfect embodiment of everything we talked about, and it's so true. Right now, it's just the time. I feel like more and more people are going to be called to share like their testimony, their story, and that's what we need, because I heard this in recovery once, like I think maybe it's in the big book of AA. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, sorry about that. I'm worried. Oh my God, I'm worried they're not going to be quiet because it's about their time to go out.
It's all good.
But oh my God, hold on. I'm sorry. Oh my God, every time I turn my camera on, I got company that just walked in. I don't want them to hurt. I don't know what you can hear from your end with their barking. Whew. But yeah, just now I forget what I was saying.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we had a really good conversation, and I think a lot of people are being called to share their truth right now, especially with the shift into Neptune and Aries. People are stepping up to be leaders in their own community. We're going to have a lot of Gemini energy, which is the community that's coming up soon. That is about seeking knowledge. So everything is right on time. And if you're anything like me, you might look at your chart right now. Maybe you're interested in booking a reading or just discovering your transits based on the conversation we shared. So now you know how to look up your own transits, hopefully. But what I noticed in mine is like mine's all in my third house right now, which is sharing my story. And I've been on more podcasts and writing a book. And it's just interesting how it's in alignment for me. So I was also talking to people about that the other day. Like it's very significant where your planets are right now more than ever. Are they in the 10th house of your career? Because your career is significant then during this shift on the planet. Are they in the 12th house? Where it's time to explore your psyche and your psychic gifts? That's important. You know, we're all at different stages in our journey, and it's also necessary, and it's all right on time, and it's also needed for the shift into the age of Aquarius and Neptune going into Aries.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being with us today on this episode of the process of clearing layers. And in this episode, we traveled and explored astrology and the in-depths about transits, as well as ways to consciously navigate astrology and how it can benefit you mentally, emotionally, and physically and spiritually in your everyday living and enhance your everyday life quality. And with that being said, our wonderful sacred guest of this episode, Alex, is located out in Arizona, and Alex is the founder, director, and CEO at Freedom for Strays, helping out stray animals and dogs. And then she is also a custom jewelry and accessory maker when it comes to different crystals and other jewelry. She is also a tarot and astrology reader, as well as human design. Not only that, but on the more fun and crafty side of things, Alex is also a creator and entertainer of the Starletta Show podcast, and also has other wonderful, fun, entertaining content that she produces and makes as well. So for everybody out there, where can they find you at? Where can they contact you? And where can they, book things as well as purchase, and also maybe tap in and enjoy some of your shows?
Thank you so much for all of that. I do have a lot of things, and I can be found on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube and Facebook. But for those that have Instagram, I have a couple different Instagrams. I have the handle Freedom for Strays just typed out, and then the Starletta Show is my podcast, which goes over, we do like conspiracy content and alien disclosure and starseed stuff in a comedic way, satire. And
could you do one of those avian impressions for us?
Oh, good day. We are the Galactic Federation, here to remind you. Oh my God. I could keep going, but I won't. My dogs might freak out.
Yeah, that's enough. I love that video.
Thank you. You should see the other characters. I'm gonna come out with an episode where what type of starseed are you?
Hey, I'll love to do it with you. If you
Oh,
ever
you
want to
should.
do long distance stuff. I'm for it.
Yes. Okay, I would absolutely love that, because I've been looking for more people to collaborate with, and I want to get more into the spiritual niche, because when I started it was more like the comedy scene, and I had a good time when I was doing that, but I'm definitely ready to, I think there needs to be a niche for introducing spirituality to people in a lighthearted way. So that is my intro to alien disclosure and some spiritual concepts. I also have like an episode on YouTube where Starletta has a ayahuasca awakening and realizes she's a shaman. Yep. So that's also on YouTube on the Starletta Show channel, and Instagram on the Starletta Show. And my TikTok handle is Starletta's World. And then for my business, you can message me on DM or visit my Linktree, Statements by Alex, to book a reading, or just message me in my DMs on Instagram.
That's right. Linktree is down below on the ticker for you guys, this whole episode. So you guys have the Linktree right there on the ticker.
Oh, thank you. And so Statements by Alex is my handle on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And then I have my nonprofit that I just started. It's Freedom for Strays. So it's not just about stray dogs, it's for stray humans. And it's based on my own personal journey of healing. So when we have I just launched it now. So I have a GoFundMe campaign going on. My initial funds are going to be raised for hiring a nonprofit lawyer and a real estate attorney, so we can find the perfect spot of land where we can hold gatherings, retreats, concerts. But the whole idea behind Freedom for Strays, it's stray humans and stray animals healing together. So I hope to have a sustainable garden, earthship domes. I want to bring all the people together because we all have something to teach and something to share. So it's also a skill share network. So if you have any interest in joining the Freedom for Strays movement, if you've got interest or experience in helping raise animals, because that's a whole different conversation too with holistic care for animals. There's more and more people starting to be interested in it. So that's another thing that I have been focusing on the last couple of years through my rescue work, is holistic ways to care for our animals that can extend their life. Because I had 3 dogs that had cancer that died way too young, and I think it was in part due to the food that they were eating that years later was recalled and just not high quality. Come here, guys. So anyways, Freedom for Strays is my nonprofit, and I'm also on Instagram and YouTube. Or sorry, Instagram. Hey. See, they're talking. They're chiming in. They're saying, come follow us. I got Instagram and YouTube for Freedom for Strays. So I'm just growing that right now.
They can find all this in your Linktree, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you guys just visit the Linktree and you'll find it all right there for you guys.
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex, for your time. Go ahead and get to your puppos, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed this very much, and look forward to working more together in the future, and definitely having you on a Starletta Show episode too.
Oh yeah, Captain Christo will be there.
Yes.
Yeah, I just sent you in the Facebook Messenger my intro to my Sacred Light Conversations podcast, because I have something that we can make a multiverse mashup with that I've already been doing, and that is Captain Christo, and I have an AI that I work with on my galactic mothership, and we go to Earth to do different missions. So we're going to be doing some multidimensional mashing up. But for everybody out there, until then, enjoy this episode and stay in tune and keep in touch. Please leave your comments, your feedback, anything that you would like to expand upon about transits and astrology in the comments as well. And reach out anytime if you guys want to build community, or if you would like to have services through us or purchase, or if you would like to be able to hop on podcast shows and other ways of switching up the airwaves. Everybody have a blessed day. Wholeness and balanced love.
Let's further investigate the timeline of Starletta. She was last seen on August 4th, 2024, a few days after the Death Richards variety show. Some say she immediately went into hiding from the Illuminati, while others saw a video that she posted sometime in September calling out to an alien portal in the sky.
What the hell is that? that a portal? Take me with you! That's my son!
Others were talking about her sobriety, and there were rumors that she hadn't taken her bipolar medicine.
Do you ever have one of those days or weeks where you just can't get out of bed and you lose all interest and all passion in anything that you had going on? Me too.
Today, we explore several theories involving her disappearance, including